Hello folks, welcome to this course, Primavera P6 Intermediate. By combining this course with Primavera P6 for beginners, you will reach an intermediate level. My name is Gavin Drysdale. My background is in project controls, covering the last 25 years. I am based in Australia and my experience covers mega projects in the mining, oil and gas and heavy industries. I have worked as a project controls specialist for many of the major international companies such as Worley Parsons, Technip, Chevron, Woodside Energy, Inpex and Wood Group. I have a bachelor's degree in mechanical engineering and a master's degree in industrial engineering. The course content applies to all of the P6 releases from version 8.3 onwards. I am currently using version 17. If you're a project manager, project scheduler, project controller, engineer, cost controller, or anyone else who wishes to learn the fundamentals of P6, then this course is for you. You could also be migrating your skills from one of the other planning packages and want to get up and running as quickly as possible in P6. The objectives of this course cover further fundamental steps required to create your first project in P6. By the end of the course, you will be able to import and export projects to P6, create resources, assign resources, understand activity resource usage and assignments, create activity codes, assign activity codes, group and sort activities, create and apply filters, progress your baseline project. Lastly, this course assumes that all participants have a basic understanding of the principles of scheduling. Preferably, you would have completed part 1 of this series. In preparing this series of lessons, I've taken care to adhere to the principles of best practice for scheduling. You will find that the principles of scheduling you will learn on this course follow the guidelines for the DCMA 14-point schedule assessment checking. At the end of this course, Lesson 11 will contain details of a real-time schedule that I've personally worked on. So let's get started and open up your copy of P6. You would have learned how to do this in the first part of the beginner series. In the next lesson, we'll discuss how to import and export projects to P6. For this lesson, I would like to show you how to easily import or export a project in P6. I have provided an example project that is available for download called Office Building Edition Example. So you should first download this project to your desktop. If you have already completed part 1 of the series, you will have already developed this project, so it won't be necessary to download it. As discussed in part 1 of this series, when you first open up P6, a login window will appear. In this window, you will enter your login name and password, then press OK. The next window is your welcome window, where you can select one of the following: create new project, open an existing project, open your last project, or open global data for all projects. For this intermediate course, we start by selecting the fourth option. Click on Open Global Data. You'll notice that your project window will open and will contain all of the current projects in your enterprise. Now we want to import the example project, which is called Office Building Edition Example. Choose File, Import from the top menu. Select the Primavera PM XER option and click Next. Select the project option and click Next. The file name dialog box will open, so click the drop-down menu on the right-hand side of the file name box and navigate to the Office Building Edition example file on the desktop. Select the file you want to import, click Open, and the file for Office Building Edition Example will appear in the file name. Click Next, and the Import Project Options window will open. The project ID will be EC001. We can now select which enterprise node we wish to import the project into. Click this heading and the EPS window will open. Select the node Office Edition under E&C Engineering and Construction and click the green plus sign to select it. If we now look at our import project options, we will be importing to Office. Click Next and leave the Update Project options as it is with the default configuration. Click Next again, then click Finish and your project will be imported to the selected EPS node. Once the import is finished, click Close and you will see the imported project under the correct EPS node, Office Edition. The project name will be the Office Building Edition. If we select this project and look at the bottom window, we can select the General tab, check that all of the project details are correct. Note that this imported project will automatically open. So if we now open the Activities screen, we will see all of our activities. To do this, we select the Activities icon in the left-hand menu. Now, if we want to export a project to an XER file, we would open the project we want to export. You must remember to first open a project if you want to export it. Then choose File, Export. Select Primavera PM/XER. Select the appropriate version from the pull-down menu. Click Next. Here is a tip. If you are exporting a file for use in Primavera Risk Analysis, you should select version 8.2. For some reason, Primavera Risk Analysis cannot read the later formatted files. Select Project and click Next. Make sure that the Export checkbox is selected for the project you want to export and click Next. Under File Name, type the name of the export file and navigate to the location where the file will be saved. Click Finish, then click Close. In this lesson, we learned how to import a project to the correct P6 EPS node, export a project from P6. In the next lesson, we'll discuss how to create resources in P6. In the last lesson, we learned how to import and export projects in P6. In this lesson, we will discuss how to create your resources in P6. So what is a resource? In P6, a resource is labor, non-labor, or materials used to complete a scheduled activity. Labor, or manpower, is measured as a price per unit or price per time. It can be specific to an individual or an entire crew, such as mechanical personnel. Labor resources can be used between different project activities or shared between projects. Non-labor, such as equipment or subcontractors, is measured as price per unit or price per time. They can be used between project activities or shared between projects. Material is measured in units other than time. Examples are cubic meters, linear meters, tons, square meters, etc. Once a material resource is established in the resource directory, it can be reused repeatedly. Material resources are designated as price per unit of measure, e.g. $1,000 per cubic meter. How do we create our resources? Now, it is important to remember that in an enterprise environment, the whole resource pool is available for use across the whole enterprise project structure. In other words, resources are not necessarily project-specific. However, resources can be entered into a hierarchical table under a specific project heading. Select Enterprise from the top drop-down menu, then click Resources to open the Resources window. You could also click on the Resources icon in the left-hand menu. Click on the plus sign in the top right-hand command bar. You may receive a message that says, In order to add a resource, the filter will be changed to display all resources. This is because you are in the current project's resource view. This is displayed in the top left-hand corner. For now, just cancel this message. Click on the current project resources drop-down in the top left-hand corner, then click Filter by All Resources. The window will now display the complete resource pool for the enterprise. For the purposes of this training, we're going to create a separate project resource header under ENC Resources. Highlight ENC Resources, then click on the plus sign in the top right-hand command bar. The new resource wizard will open. Rename the resource ID to Office Building and the resource name to Office Building Resources. Since this is going to be our resource header, just click Finish. I have created a downloadable project resource table, and you can use this as a reference when entering resources, and this should appear on the screen. Now we'll enter the resources for this project. Highlight the Office Building Resources header and click the plus sign on the top right. The new resource wizard will open. Rename the resource ID to Alex T and the resource name to Project Controls. Click Next, and the next window will ask for the resource type: labor, non-labor, or material. Select the labor radio button, then click Next. The window for units per time and prices will appear. Enter the price per unit of $70 per hour for Alex T, and leave the default units per time as 8 hours per day. Ignore the phone and email window for now and click Next. The roles window will now open. We are going to use predefined ENC roles for our project. Press the Assign button, and you will notice that the Assign Roles window is blank. If this is the case, look at the top drop-down display menu. Most likely, it will be displaying current project's roles. Since we have not yet assigned any roles to our activities, it will be blank. So click on the display drop-down and filter by all roles. This will bring up all available roles. Select Management as the role, then press the green plus sign to assign the management role to this resource. Close the pop-up and click Next. In the resource calendar window that opens, you can either select an existing calendar or create a new personal calendar for this resource. Since we have already created calendars in the earlier course, select the existing calendar and click Next. Select the 5-day work week, including holidays. Click Next and select the first option, Auto Compute Actuals. Then click Finish. For our second resource, I'm going to show you a much quicker way of entering the resource information. Highlight Alex T and right-click your mouse to bring up a menu. Select Add from the menu, and a new blank resource will be created under Alex T. In the right-hand menu, click the left arrow to align the new resource with Alex T. An even quicker way to enter resources is to simply press the Insert key on your keyboard. Change the resource ID to Andy A and press the Tab button. Change the resource name to Painter. Tab 3 times to get to the Roles field and select Trades from the pop-up window. Press the green plus sign to select the role. Now, to enter the standard rate per hour, we need to select the Units and Prices tab in the bottom window. Enter the standard rate of $50 per hour and press Enter. So you will notice that this rate is now shown in the Resources window. To speed up the rate of entering our remaining resources, we will first enter all of their descriptions and roles, then go back and enter their standard rates. So we'll enter John H. Excavator, Trades. Trevor W. Floor and Carpet Layer, Trades. Greg G. Ironworker, Trades. Bill D. Construction Laborer, Trades. Dave G. Rough Carpenter, Trades. Wendy K. Finish Carpenter, trades. Jill D, designer, engineer. Then we'll enter their standard rates for 8 hours per day, starting with John, $70 per hour, then Trevor, $45 per hour, Greg, $55 per hour, Bill, $40 per hour, Dave, $50 per hour, Wendy, $60 per hour, and lastly Jill, $60 per hour. Now we have entered all of our resources that are required for our project. Note that the same method is used for entering non-labor and materials resources. In this lesson, we learned how to understand the difference between labor, non-labor, and material resources. Create a new resource header, enter resources using the resource wizard, enter resources quickly without the resource wizard. In the next lesson, we will learn how to assign our newly created resources. In the previous lesson, we learned how to create our project resources. So in this lesson, we'll discuss how to assign the resources in P6. When you imported the project EC001 into P6, it would have automatically been opened. However, if you're opening this project from the Projects window, you would select Project ID EC001, then right-click and select Open Project. Click on the Activities icon in the left-hand command bar, and the Activities screen will open, showing all of our activities. Now, as an example, click on the Design phase and click the Resources tab in the bottom window. Click Add Resources. The Add Resources window will open, and it is likely that it will be blank. If you look at the top of the window, you will notice that the view is Current Project Resources. This is because no resources have been assigned to any activity. We want to change this, so click on the top pull-down menu and select Filter by All Resources. Immediately, all of the available resources will appear. I have created a downloadable project resource assignments table, and you can use this as a reference when entering resources. This should appear on the screen. Now, let's add resources to our first activity, A1020, Design Phase. It is only one resource, so we highlight Jill D and press the green plus button to assign the resource. Now we'll add resources to activity 1030, Site Preparation. You will notice that the Assign Resource window is still open, so simply select John H and press the plus button. Do the same for activity 1040, Excavation and Formwork. Highlight the activity, select John H and assign him to the activity. Now activity 1050 has 4 resources assigned to it. Highlight the activity. We can now assign resources to them all at the same time. To do this, select the first resource, then hold down the Control key and select the other 3 resources. Press the plus button to assign the resources and note that all the selected resources have been assigned. Select 1060 and assign Greg G. Select 1070 and assign Greg G. Continue assigning resources until they have all been assigned correctly. When we get down to activity 1170, Fabricate and Deliver Flooring, we will not assign a resource to it. Why? Because this is really a procurement activity and is really only a duration during fabrication and delivery, and not project labor. I suppose that we could argue that there could be a few hours spent on admin and follow-up, but for the purposes of this example, let's not worry about it. Before closing the assignments window, change the display by selecting the pull-down menu and selecting Filter by Current Project Resources. You will note that only the resources assigned to the current project are visible. We can now close the resource assignment window. To recap, in this lesson we learned how to assign resources to each activity in a project, assign multiple resources to an activity, view all resources assigned to the current project. In the next lesson, we will look at activity and resource usage and assignments in P6.